I have no idea how to make a YouTube video. So, here I am. My name is Aaron Demetrion, and this is D and Demetrion. This is Leap Day. It's going to be a very special day for the channel. It's when I wanted to have my channel become a thing. And I like Dungeons and Dragons. That's why I'm here. So, first of all, I always want to thank the Dungeon Dudes for all the content that you produce. I really enjoy it. I want to thank Colby from D4, D&D Deep Dive. And I want to thank Tom, the Grungeon Master. We've had some conversations online, and I'm looking forward to entering into a space similar to his. I also want to thank Kelvin for getting me back into D&D and showing me a hobby that I had forgotten that I loved. Ultimately, I want to be here because I feel like I have something to offer the Dungeons & Dragons community. I have gone through all of the official content. I've gone through Earth. I've gone through Forgotten Realms. I've gone through Eberron. I've gone through even some third-party content like Midgard. And I want to make a homebrew world that I can give back to the community. I want to make something that is free. I want to make something that is a simple premise. And I want to build it with you guys. So far, I have a pretty good idea of where I want to go with this channel and how I want to build things out. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for anybody that's going to watch this dumpster fire of a first video. Again, I'm not very good with technology, and one of these days maybe I'll even hire an editor. Who knows? But for now, I want to start off with the premise of the world that I want to build, and I want to go through the Dungeon Master's Guide and do it piece by piece. So let me grab my other phone. So I did not plan on doing this. If it'll work. Let's go ahead and open up D&D Beyond. And let's go to the Dungeon Master's Guide. Give me a moment as I find it. Again, this is all going to be without editing. Like I say, I don't do technology in videos like this. This is my very first video, and I'm going to have to figure out how to do this. So you're actually going to get me to watch me grow as a content creator. Alright, Curse of Strahd, Phandalin, Fizz, Bands, Dungeon Master's Guide. Alrighty. Oh, and just as a note that I want to throw in there before I forget. I'm going to be, as a channel, staying in 5th edition and 5.5 for as long as those editions are around. I specifically want to give the attention to third-party content that has been created for Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to look at homebrewed content that has been made for Dungeons and Dragons. The Hasbro as a corporation isn't something that I necessarily am fond of. I think that they have very easily shown their hand. And let's not forget about the Pinkertons or the OGL debacle or any of the other various scandals that have been happening with Dungeons and Dragons. I believe that Dungeons and Dragons is a hobby. I believe that Dungeons and Dragons belongs to the people in the community. I also realize that it is a product, but at the same time, it's the community that makes the products viable. And I may go into other opinions about Dungeons and Dragons with its design philosophy and other things as a whole, but not at this moment. So, let's look at the core assumptions. The rules of the games are based on the following core assumptions about the game world. gods oversee the worlds. As it stands now, I'm currently running something called Ascension. I'm taking it's a power gaming fantasy where I'm taking characters from levels 1 all the way through level 60. I'm highly encouraging multi-classing, and there's a lot of really interesting little homebrew stuff that I've come up with for players in my home game where they are able to create gods for a pantheon. So I'm literally having my friends help me create this world. Currently, there is an overgod that's overseeing everything. He wants to go on vacation, and he has called in an isekai, essentially, all of these other people to become gods, or at least attempt to. And I have some pretty good ideas for where that's going to go. So much of the world is untamed. In this world, that is going to be the case. It is going to be a perilous world. It is not going to have a lot of races. Right now, the only races that exist on the planet at the time of Ascension are dwarves and fish people. Those are the only ones that currently exist on the land as of right now. The world is ancient. No, the world is not ancient. The world is actually brand new. Literally created as it is from nothing by the Overgod, who was able to look at the way that the other gods in the multiverse made their mistakes, and he learned from them. And so he's doing things a little bit differently. Now, conflict shapes world history. There's not really world history right now. It's in the world as it stands right now in the Ascension campaign, nobody has ever died. Humans are currently supernaturally blessed to live to be about 700 years old. Dwarves are on the earth. They live to be about 700, so there's an interesting camaraderie there. The fish people haven't come up at all. And there are orcs on the moon, but I'll get into that at a later time. Now, the world is magical, yes. The vision for this universe, for this homebrew setting that I want to create, is it has galaxies, so it could be like StarCraft, and people have the ability to travel around to different solar systems, go to different stars, and visit and mine resources, stuff like that. But as of right now, everything is taking place on the main planet. So if you think of it like... There we go. Hold on. I'm in my car because I'm currently traveling. So if you think of it like... what's the best way to put it? If you think of it like Aberratorial or Earth, it's like the main planet where all the campaigns happen, but it's also like the central hub and the home world for a lot of these races. But the world is extremely magical, and I'm also putting psionics in my world because I think that Wizards of the Coast dropped the ball and didn't put any kind of psionics into the world. Now, brief aside on psionics, if magic is the ability to take the essence of an environment that is a mystical energy and shape it and bend it into an effect like prestidigitation or the wish spell, psionics is the ability to take the innate ability that exists within yourself, channel it into an effect. It's similar to magic. Think of it like sorcery, but not a sorcerer. In other words, instead of using magical essence, you're using a different kind of energy to sometimes get similar effects, but I'm working on the system right now for it. There's a lot of old psionic stuff that's very hard to convert to 5th edition, and I'm waiting for 5.5. Now, in the world, see here. In creating your campaign world, it helps to start with the core assumptions and considering how the setting might change them. The subsequent sections of this chapter address each element and give details on how to flesh out your world with gods, factions, and so forth. So just goes out with the same stuff that I've talked about earlier. Now, gods in the world. Currently, I had some players, they had to drop out for personal reasons, but I'm still going to honor their characters and the memory of the good times that we shared together by keeping their characters in the Pantheon. The god candidates that I have right now are Trixie, maybe. She's a maybe. The player doesn't know if she actually wants to play in this campaign or not, because she's very much casual player. Then there is Amaya, who is a water Ganassi. There's Beryl, who is a fire Ganassi. I would like to find somebody to play a air Ganassi, and I would like to find somebody to play a earth Ganassi, so that way I can have the idea of the 4 elemental princes. Sort of like Prince of the Apocalypse, only these are gods, like actual gods. I'm going to call them the elemental monarchs. And then, of course, there's Patarie. He is a swords bard satyr. And then there's Carabellus, who is a hexblood, previously Furbolg druid. And let's see who else. I have a ranger turtle that's played by one of my really good friends, and a fairy named Amethyst. There's also another person I met online and looking for groups, but I still remember you. I've just been extremely busy, but online play will resume very soon, I promise. They are a goblin, and they want to be the god of parties. So that's a very interesting premise. So that is currently what I have right now as far as the god candidates are concerned. Am I forgetting somebody? Yes, there's 2 more. There are 2 people who wanted to play Warforged. I said, sure, go for it. One is a rogue thief. They're sort of on track to be like a god of justice, ironically enough. And medical care and triage, because of how they built out their character. They actually use fast hands as a way to use a med kit to heal people. And then the other one is a Warforged who wants to become something other than a Warforged. And they're probably on track to be like a god of transformations. But I digress. Now, of course, the DMG goes into different stuff like that. Now, as far as mapping the campaign, because we're moving on to the next section, I have an unpainted globe that I got at a yard sale, and I want to make a globe before I make a map, because the 3-dimensional shape will help me better place the map, and it will allow me to draw details and like understand the space between continents, because I don't want to end up with a situation where I'm looking at it sort of like with Russia dangling on one end of the map and almost touching Alaska, or vice versa. It's very interesting. So I'll show that to you guys later, maybe in a short. All right, it talks about scales. Now, settlements. There will be essentially like a canon event of when the god candidates rather get to about level 21, and they all get together, and the floating city in the sky, where the avatar of the overgod of this world is going to bring that down to the planet below, which the planet is currently unnamed, and it is going to kick off an event called Starfall. And from there, everything within this area or region is going to end up being uninhabited wilderness. And that is when I'm going to start phase 2 of the campaign, where Ascension is going to wrap up and then I'm going to play something akin to West March, and I'm going to let my players inhabit the world, build cities, and go from there. Now, I think that's really interesting to pass out. And there's also going to be things happening in between. You know, it's not going to just be like Animal Crossing where you build a world. But I can go into that more maybe in the next episode. Now, I think that we've gotten to a good point here. I've discussed kind of the cosmology of where I want to go with this world. I've discussed how I currently have a campaign going with god candidates that hopefully will become gods. And I also have set up the next iteration of campaigns within this homebrew world. So hopefully next episode, I will not be in my car. I will not be traveling. Or I'll be in a hotel room, and the video quality will go up significantly. I will try to teach myself how to edit, but for now, you get the rough take. If you guys have any questions about this homebrew world, this, again, is for you guys. I want it to be for you guys. I'm not going to charge anybody for it. Any content that I put out is going to be free, out vis-a-vis Antonio D'Amico. By the way, forgot to say, also, thank you. I also enjoy what you're doing over on your channel as well. Pointy Hat is awesome. I highly recommend you check him out. I also highly recommend you check out D4 Deep Dive with Colby. And I also want you to check out the Dungeon Dudes and Tom, the Grungeon Master, where he goes into talking about the implications of different spells and effects and historical things on his channel. He's really the inspiration for me wanting to put forth this kind of content. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that's going to watch, again, this very rough video. And thank you for playing a game with me. It's been a pleasure.